everyone. My name is Vicky McDonald and I'm the marketing and comms person behind Homes for Cathy. So it's great to see so many of our members here today, but also non-members who are interested in Homes for Cathy and what we do. So today's workshop is on tenancy training, and we've partnered with our charity partners, Crisis, who sit on the Homes for Cathy board, and they also have heavily influenced Homes for Cathy in terms of our commitments, our 9 commitments that our organisations who are members sign up to are in Crisis's Everybody In plan to end homelessness. Let's see someone in there. So the aim of this workshop really is to understand a bit more about tenancy training, its benefits, and really what looks good in terms of tenancy training. And this fits well into our commitments, because obviously we are, one of our commitments is to look at the needs of vulnerable tenant groups. And I think, you know, a lot of the people that perhaps require tenancy training would fall into that category. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from Peter Harrison and Pilar Cruz from Crisis, who work in the best practice team and on the housing training side, to look at their tenancy training programme, which is called Renting Ready, and what that does. And then we're going to hear from Faye Willett, who is Youth Homeless Coordinator at Conwy Council, who actually use the Crisis programme in their own organisation. So that will take us through to about 11:35, and then we'll have a quick break. And then after that, we're hoping to go into breakout rooms so that we can find a bit more about what you think good tenancy training looks like, get your views about what could be included, and then feed that back. So I think that was it. I'm recording the session, so hopefully I can share that on the YouTube, Homes for Cathy YouTube channel. I'll talk a bit about the breakout rooms later. We're hoping to use a bit of technology, Jamboard, which is new to me. So we'll see how that works out. But if that doesn't work, well, for me anyway, I'm one of the facilitators, we will revert back to the old style of pencil and paper. So I'm not going to take up too much more time. I will now pass over to Peter and Lara from Crisis to talk about tenancy training.
I'm trying to multitask, everyone, so please bear with me. I've just unmuted myself. If you'll forgive me with a little bit of housekeeping at the crisis end, tap minute. I see the Janet has now joined, so we are full of facilitators now. So thanks, tap minute. Yeah, sorry guys, when I've got my screen shared, I can't see anyone on the chat. So yeah. So yeah, hello, I'm Peter. I work for Crisis. As Vicky said, I'm based in the along with Billy, who's our tenancy trainer. And yeah, so what we're kind of keen to do, I mean, firstly, I would say we're delighted that we've got kind of so much interest in tenancy training as a subject. When Vicky and I first started having this conversation, sorry, can we make sure everyone's on mute? Because there's an awful lot of background noise, so if you wouldn't mind muting, that would be super. So yeah, when Vicky and I first started having the conversation about putting on a tenancy training session, we thought we might get maybe 40, 50 people interested. We've got double that. So I was really pleased to see that. Tenancy training is pretty close to my heart. Before I joined Crisis, I worked in social housing up north for 24 years, and I joined Crisis 5 years ago, and my first job was a complete career change as a tenancy trainer working directly with our members. So I kind of thought at first hand the tenancy training can have. So yeah, so what we're planning to do today, I'll give you a very quick overview of Crisis. I'll then hand over to Pilly, who's our housing trainer, and she will take you through our rent programme. Now that will just give you a sense of next steps for Crisis in terms of what we're looking at in terms of our tenancy training. So a little bit about Crisis. We're a national charity for homeless people. We work every year directly with thousands of people who are experiencing homelessness. We provide a range of our services from what we call skylights, our offices across the country, and we have 11 of those. We have 3 in London, and we have the rest of them in those locations that you can see on that map on the right-hand side of the page. So through our skylights, we provide one-to-one support using a coaching approach. We have coaches who support members with progression, housing, work, learning, health, well-being, whole range of things. In addition to that, we deliver a whole range of courses, all designed to enable our members to leave behind their homelessness for good. We're a strong campaigning organisation as well, obviously working with thousands of homeless people every year. That gives us a lot of evidence of what works and what doesn't. So we use that and other research to campaign strongly for policy and practice changes to end homelessness. So tenancy training really is a package of support that we provide for our members. I'm delighted that in terms of the facilitation of the work groups, of the breakout groups, we've got a lot of crisis staff here supporting those, including tutors who deliver Renting Ready across the country. So thanks to you guys for giving up your time to come and facilitate. So that's kind of a bit of a background to Crisis. What I'm going to do is hand on to, in fact, no, I'm not. I think we've got a poll coming up. So I need to launch the poll. Bear with me a second. What we're really interested to find out before we move on is where your organisation fits in terms of these. Now, I'm hoping that you can all view the poll. Victoria, I'm looking at you. Is the poll showing?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So guys, dead keen to get a sense from you in terms of what your approach is to tenancy training. Are you delivering it? And if you are,
yeah.
do you do it yourselves? Do you commission organisations? Or if you're not delivering, have you got a plan to do so? So I can see that so far we have 23 out of 65 people have responded to that. So I'm going to give that a little bit of time to work through. The 67%, so I'm going to give that one more minute and then we'll have a look at what the responses are. Okay, I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's have a look at what those are. So let me share the results. So the really good news is that those of you who are providing tenancy training, you've got no plans to stop doing it. So yeah, I've got 28% of you are delivering tenancy training and you're delivering it yourselves, and a further 10% of you deliver it through another organisation. So 38% of you are delivering tenancy training at the moment. So the majority of you aren't. I've got 18% who aren't currently delivering tenancy training, and you've got no plans to do so. Let's hope that by the end of this session, we have persuaded you to change your mind and to put some plans in place. So yeah, I'm hoping that for you, those guys who aren't currently delivering tenancy training, this might give you some help and tips about how you might take that forward. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I am going to close that poll, and I'm going to hand you over to Pilly, who is our housing trainer.
Good morning, everyone. There is lots of background noise. So if everyone can mute themselves, that would be really useful. I can hear a lot of background noise. Can you hear me well? Just checking.
Getting a bit of an echo from you, Pilly, but yeah, keep going.
You can hear me? Okay.
There's a lot of feedback. Someone's got speakers on quite loud.
Maybe let me just any better. I seem to have noise coming from the computer. I don't know what's happening. Sorry. Sorry. I'll go ahead. So yeah, please, if you are, just mute yourself. If you can.
Stop it.
I don't know why there is that noise, sir.
I'll tell you what, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you've done, that seems to work.
Oh, that's gone now. Great, thank you. Sorry about that. So let's get started. So I'm going to tell you about Renting Ready. So my name is Pilar, and can we have the first slide, Peter? No, it's the one about the Renting Ready tutor. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry. So my name is Pilar, and I'm part of the best practice team. My job title is housing trainer. I'm based at the Crisis headquarters in London. My role consists of delivering Renting Ready training to external organizations in England, Scotland, and Wales. And I often work with councils, homeless charities, youth charities, housing associations sometimes, temporary accommodation providers, and sometimes prisons and probation services. And I started in this role in August 2016, so it's been almost 5 years now. Can I have the next one? So I'm going to tell you about our tenancy skills training called Renting Ready. So what is Renting Ready? So it's a comprehensive tenancy skills course developed by Crisis. The aim is to upskill learners on the realities and practicalities of renting, and to support people to overcome barriers to accessing accommodation and to sustain a tenancy. We believe that it helps learners to understand how to find and keep a home, as well as when and where to go for help if things go wrong. This part, I think, is particularly important in my opinion. We do a lot of repetition on which organizations people can access to get help with anything and everything. So we mentioned Shelter, the Citizen Advice Bureau, Mind, Samaritan. So all the help that people can get, we just try to make them aware and to get that message. Then also, so Renting Ready also provides practical learning around living on a limited budget, looking after a home, managing relationships with landlords, neighbors, and flatmates. So there is a big element of communication as well in there. Also, it makes learners aware of their rights and the responsibilities as tenants, and also talks about landlords' responsibilities. And also the course highlights common issues that tenants can come across, so people are aware of what they can expect and how they can deal with those issues when they come in the future when they have a tenancy. So who is Renting Ready for? So the course is for people who are experiencing homelessness and those who are at risk of homelessness. Also for people with little experience of independent living, so often young people, and also for tenants who are struggling to maintain their tenancy. So it's very flexible. We work with a framework, and we use the assessment criteria of the Level 1 Award in Tenancy Skills Accreditation as a framework. And this is just to ensure a certain degree of standardization among our crisis skylight centers, as well as among the external organizations that deliver the course independently. Like, for example, Conwy Council, where Faye works. This framework is also used with a quality assurance purpose in mind. Okay. And how is the course delivered? So we have internally at Crisis, Renting Ready is delivered by Crisis tutors to our service users in our skylight centers, and we have 11 of them. And then externally, is delivered to third-party organizations by myself. I deliver it in different formats. So one possibility is to deliver it to service users of other organizations. I usually do that in 4 full days. I also do a trainer in 2 days. And then there is a course, which is the trainer combined with direct delivery, and that takes 6 whole days, because I will deliver in 4 days to the users, together with 2 or 3 staff of the organization. And we try to be very flexible, so we can make the course available to more people. And for example, we have been doing a remote trainer during the COVID crisis. The course, as I mentioned before, it can be accredited, but it also can be non-accredited. So if learners do it accredited, they can achieve a level 1 qualification in tenancy skills from the awarding body Tenancies. This will require the production of evidence from the learner and a formal assessment process. And we can provide workbooks for learners to do that assessment. And then we can do the course as well non-accredited, which will provide the opportunity to be more flexible with the content and the delivery mode. And there won't be the necessity to produce a portfolio on the part of the learners. And this is the version I usually deliver myself. The course can be delivered intensively or over a longer period of time. So for example, I usually deliver it in 4 days at around 6 hours per day. This is more convenient because I travel around, so it's good just to deliver it intensively for me. So I do 2 days 1 week and usually 2 days the following week. But however, our tutors in the Skylight centers, they usually have 10, 12-week terms. So they will spread the course in 10, 12 weeks, 2, 3-hour sessions. Also, we have housing coaches at Crisis, and they deliver the course one-to-one to their clients. And sometimes they combine an introduction to housing group session with follow-up one-to-ones to cover the whole course. The decision approach will be determined by the needs of the learners and the organization's perspective. So this can be adapted. Here I have a picture of the renting ready certificate that all learners who complete the course get from us. And I'll tell you briefly about the benefits of the course. So one of the benefits would be obviously getting the level 1 award in tenancy skills, but also people will get a better understanding of housing options, of their rights and responsibilities. Also, they will understand better what the cost of a tenancy will be and of budgeting to cover those costs, better understanding of how to maintain a tenancy. And also, if the course is delivered in a classroom setting, I believe it's quite important that you can see how people learn from each other, share experiences, and gain confidence. So they gain extra soft skills apart from the knowledge about tenancies. And then depending on the organization delivering the course, the learners might get extra incentives and support. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of an overview about the renting ready content. So we have 3 units. Unit 1 is understanding tenancies, and that includes things like housing options, differences between types of tenancies, different types of tenancy agreements and licenses. Also we look at how to look for a property, how to do a property viewing, how to present yourself to the landlord. Then we talk about tenancy rights and responsibilities, both on the landlords and the tenants side. We talk a little bit about the basics of eviction processes. We also touch on antisocial behavior, and we also talk about resolving disputes if they come up with neighbors or flatmates. On Unit 2 is about tenant financial management, and there we touch on things such as the cost and liabilities of renting. We talk about tenancy deposits and tenancy protection, deposit protection schemes. We talk about the local housing allowance and how to check it. We do a personal budget. We do a search for properties based on your income, so people know how much they can afford before they actually do the search. We talk about utilities, borrowing and saving money, credit, priority and non-priority debts, and also the consequences of not paying your debts. Unit 3 is the last one, and there we talk about other tenant responsibilities. So here is where we talk about what to do if things go wrong with something, with the landlord, with the neighbor, with the housemates, or with something personal. So there is where we talk about all the different organizations and charities that can help you to solve your problems before they get worse. We also talk a little bit about DIY, repairs and maintenance, things like how to bleed a radiator, check what's wrong with the boiler, and so on. Also condensation and dampness, and also this unit includes chair accommodation and how to deal with that. So those are the contents. And what I'm going to do next, I also have a poll for you. So the poll is about, you can have, yeah, the next one. Oh, sorry. Well, the poll is about understanding tenancies. So sorry, it's about different topics that we cover, and we would like to have your opinion on which topics you think are most important, and if there are any that you think could be left out. So I think the poll is already on, so it should be on your screens. So
Yes,
just yeah, take your time to answer those questions.
yeah. There's 6 questions in total if you scroll down.
Thank you.
And then the first lot asks you to name four topics that you think are most important. And then the third one is 2. And then the last 3 questions are tick as many as you want. We did have all of them, but Zoom wouldn't let us fit more than 10. So if you think all of them are irrelevant, which I hope you don't, then yeah, just tick as many as you want.
Yeah, so if you scroll down, you will see all the questions.
Victoria, I've launched that poll, so I'm hoping people can see it, but at the minute, no one has voted. So I'm assuming there may be some technical hitches in terms of...
That's weird, because I can see it.
It's just quite long. I can see it.
You just need to scroll down to see the questions, but there are only 6 questions altogether.
It's up, it's just long. Perhaps it's just people taking a while to actually think about it.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it is working. We've now got 2% votes coming in. Now up to 38% have voted, so we'll leave that open for another minute or so, Pilly, and then I shall share the results.
Just to note, Peter, that it wouldn't let you submit it unless you actually answered everything. So even if you think that everything is relevant in the last 3 questions, you have to click something.
Okay.
You can blame me because I haven't actually ever put a poll up. It may be because I had to take the option out to say they're all irrelevant or none of them are, yeah, I'm not quite sure.
We are getting there. We have 51 people have completed, 52. So that's quite good.
Yeah, there's none of the topics I'd leave out, but you do have to click something. So, yeah, I think that's why it's taken a while, because you've got to go back.
Okay, so we have 54, 55. Shall we just leave it there?
Yeah, we've now got over 80% voted. So
Yeah, it's almost 5 minutes. So let's let's just finish the 5 minutes and then let's go ahead. So I'm gonna stop it now.
I'm trying to submit it, but it won't let me submit.
Oh no.
And I've answered all the questions.
Just give it a last try. I mean, we will discuss this in the breakout rooms as well. So hopefully everybody has a chance to give their opinion on the topics. So I'm gonna finish it now, otherwise we'll run out of time. But yeah, we've got 58 out of 69, so that's not bad. Okay, thank you everyone for doing that. Let me just share the results. Can you all see that? Okay, so here we have the first question was about which 4 topics from the unit 1 are most important in your opinion. The one that outstands the most here is tenancy rights and responsibilities. So 86% of people chose that one, and then all the others are also have been chosen. So property viewings seem to be less popular. That's an interesting one. But yeah, the one that seems to be everybody seems to agree most on is tenancy rights and responsibilities, which obviously makes sense. Then on the second question, which is topics about tenant financial management, is personal budgets of most people think is the most important, but also we have costs and liabilities of renting. Searching for properties is the one that is least popular. Then we have unit 3, tenant responsibilities. 91% of people have chosen what to do if things go wrong. I think that's quite good. And then there is also quite a lot of people, 59% chose repairs and maintenance. And then in terms of being irrelevant, the one that got 48% is where to look for properties. I mean, obviously this will depend on your organization and the kind of work you do with your service users. Obviously, if you are a housing association and working with people and housing them within your properties, this would be definitely relevant. However, if you are supporting people into the private rented sector, that might become more important. Okay, and then we have question 5, where again, searching for properties has become the less popular. Again, that might be because many of you work in housing associations. And then the last question, share accommodation is the one that most people chose as irrelevant. And that, yeah, that's often the case. So often when I'm delivering the course, if there is no one who is likely to chair in the classroom, I would leave that part of the course out. Okay, I just want to stop that and continue, but that was quite a good insight. And as I said before, we will talk about those topics during the discussion in the breakout rooms.
Kelly, can I just say we're on a little bit short of time, so we're going to have to whiz through the final slides a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to very quickly show you some sample resources and materials. So as part of the Renting Ready program, we provide teaching resources and promotional materials. And next one. And these are just an example. So for example, we have an activity on differences between social housing and private rented sector. And I have a picture of how it looks like in the classroom, where people have to get up and stick the statements on the wall. Then we have an activity on how to present yourself when you go for a viewing. And for this, I ask people to act as the landlords for a day. And then they get these people who are coming to do the viewing, and based on their outlooks and how they are dressed and the time they arrive to the appointment and so on, people have to make their choices on who would be their first choice and second choice, why they chose those people and why not the others. Then we have an activity on the next one, Landlords Key Concerns. So we always talk about rent paid on time in full, no damage to the property and no antisocial behavior, and how if you stick to those, you should be able to maintain your tenancy. And then I have another activity on tenants and landlord responsibilities, which is what I call the bucket activity. So I have two buckets, one for tenants, one for landlords, and I get people to discuss in groups and to put the cards on the relevant bucket, and then we discuss all those responsibilities, such as paying water bill, paying council tax, doing repairs, looking after furniture, and so on. So we get to discuss quite a lot on there. And then we also look at finding LHA rates online, and we also look at how to save money on gas and electricity by doing comparisons online with UseWitch and other websites. That's it from me. Sorry for the speed. And then Peter is going to talk about what's next for crisis tenancy training.
Very briefly, yeah, thanks, Penny. It's a bit of a challenge for you to try to condense a course that our tutors deliver over 6 weeks into 15 minutes. So, of course, details can be provided on request. Very quickly, in terms of next steps for us within Crisis, we've been doing quite a lot of work around our tenancy training. Firstly, this year we'll be announcing a rename. Increasingly, the whole concept of people being ready for tenancies or having to be tenancy ready is being challenged, particularly in Scotland and Wales, where they're a little bit more progressive at times. So we will be launching or announcing a new name for Renting Ready in the course of the next few months. And we've also kind of taken the opportunity to do a review of how we deliver the course. Like all organisations, we've had to adapt over the last year or so and reduce online versions. So we've been, or we are doing a stock take of content delivery and just really looking to improve the course as best we can. So I am not going to take any questions. There'll be ample opportunity within the groups to do that. What I am going to do is hand over to Faye and apologise for leaving it so long. So yeah, Faye works for Conwy Council. Over to you, Faye, in terms of your experience of tenancy training with the guys that you're working with.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so I work in Conwy County Borough Council, as Peter quite rightly said. I was a housing officer in Conwy Housing Solutions for 2 years with young people who are homeless today or homeless within 56 days. Pilar came down to deliver some training to a group of our young people, so all individual presented as homeless, and we delivered classroom sessions to those young people. And a lot came out of them in that they formed natural friendships with each other, which made it easier to look for properties, because two young people sharing a 2-bed was often easier to find than one young person looking on their own. Also, our relationships with landlords improved. Now, the landlords were able to input into the course. As Pilar said, the modules are really flexible. So if a landlord had certain concerns about a young person, whether it was antisocial behaviour or substance misuse. We were able to tailor the modules to fit in with the landlord and feed back to them to say, yeah, the young person attended on all of those days, they contributed to the group, they were great, or not if they weren't, and that landlord was then more likely to go on to offer a tenancy to the young person. So that worked really well. And then we hit coronavirus, of course. So Pilar came down and delivered training to colleagues who work with groups of individuals or individuals in different scenarios. We went through to our local housing association, Cartrefi Conwy, and delivered some sessions there, but they only wanted budgeting sessions. So we were able to adapt the course and deliver just the budgeting sessions. So since then, I have moved over to the youth service. I'm the youth homeless coordinator for the youth service, because what the Rent and Ready kind of brought to light is we need prevention work. We need to educate young people, all people actually, about tenancies, about finances, about, you know, all the wonderful things Pilar said. Now, I noticed in the poll a lot of you said you don't think searching for properties it was relevant, but with young people, they search on Rightmove or whatever it might be for a property to rent, and they found their lovely one-bedroom flat with a picket fence in a seaside town or wherever it might be, but they don't consider the finances. And a lot of young people are under an illusion that their rent will be paid. It'll all be covered, they won't have to contribute. So it's working with people to bust these myths as well. And another great thing about the Rent and Ready course is we've now been invited to schools to educate young people from the age of 11. So before they're hitting that crisis point and that I'm homeless tonight, we are providing those housing options and, you know, giving them a real understanding of what it'll be like if they decide to leave home or not work so hard on the relationships with parents or caregivers, and they want to live on their own, what the realities are. So we've been able to take some really fun modules. So the Pilar showed you the tenants cards, and they were applying for a flat. And if you give young people the job of being a landlord, and you actually give them a card of a flat, and it's lovely, you know, it's all presented well, and make them the landlord, their opinions change really quickly. So they look at the people applying for the property in a different light. So they'll look at what they're wearing, look how late they are, look how they're presenting, and they make those connections, and it really does work well. So it's really, really flexible. I myself haven't delivered the course accredited, because as Pilar said, it is very long, and to get it accredited is you'd have to be 100% into the 4 days, and it's very difficult to get all young people voluntarily engaging for that length of time. But the good thing about it is you can mix and match the modules and the sections as much as you like. Another handy module is the difference between social housing and private rented. Again, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the social housing sector in Wales, how little houses they have, and the benefits of maybe sharing or looking for private rented from early on, rather than sitting and waiting for social housing, which often can be years. People believe that if they're on a list that they're going to receive an offer soon. That's not the case. So yeah, it's been an absolute massive bonus for Conwy, for all the housing officers now, I believe, have done the train the trainer course, so they're able to deliver the modules one-to-one with their clients. And as I say, I've taken the course to the youth service, and I'm dissecting it to suit the new needs of the young people I'm working with, because it's that flexible. So has anybody got any questions or want to ask me anything? My time's ticking away. We have time. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey, Altaf Khan here from In Communities. The $1 million question.
Yeah.
What's been the return on your investment then? What level of sustainability have you?
it's going to take quite a long time to measure the amount of young people that have completed the course and then don't present in the future. So with housing associations, we've delivered with Cartrefi Conwy, as I say, to people that are, you know, approaching eviction for whatever reason. Now, in my opinion, that's too late. It's kind of a token gesture, really. You're going to get evicted, let's put you through this course now. So we could measure how many of those people didn't rectify their situation and became homeless, but again, I think it's a little bit too late. But the young people that certainly completed the course that Pilar did originally, so we're probably talking 18 months ago, were offered tenancies either in supported accommodation or the odd one social housing, and the rest with private rented. I'd say 75% of those are still in accommodation and they haven't represented as being homeless. I think that's also due to the fact that they've got that connection now with myself, with Pilar. They can ask for help at any time, and I know she mentioned DIY, but a lot of young people don't know how to change a light bulb or bleed a radiator, and the fact we've covered that in the course is amazing. And we do get phone calls in the middle of the night to say we've flooded our kitchen, what do we do? But if that's going to help the young person deal with it and save the tenancy or appease the landlord and keep that the tenancy going, then it's all good. So yeah, it's going to be a while before we can measure it properly, but it's very positive.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Hi, Faye. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how do you deliver this training in groups of people or one-to-one?
We started off delivering it in groups before coronavirus, which was great, worked really well in the classroom. With young people, they seem really flexible and engaging. We then tried to deliver it to groups of adults who were not anti-council, maybe anti-council, but had a few issues themselves. And we did struggle to wind those conversations in and concentrate on the modules. Everybody seemed to have something to say about the state of housing in the country or the state of local authorities or whatever it might be. So personally, I found it more difficult to deliver to groups of adults than I do to young people. So that's where it became kind of essential that we could mix and match the modules and deliver them one-to-one. So you could have those private conversations with individuals, take on board their grievances about their situation, or, you know, whoever was referring them for the course, why they were doing it, and then move on to the content itself. So I prefer groups, the groups of young people, they form friendships, they're really good, but it's so flexible, you can do either.
Yeah, can I kind of mirror Crisis's delivery as well, because it's identical. I really like delivering in groups because there's a real power in getting people in a room talking about their experiences and learning from each other. But obviously over the last 18 months, our tutors have had to respond. So mostly we deliver on a one-to-one basis these days, remotely, by telephone, via Zoom. But yeah, I will certainly be moving towards a kind of blended approach whereby we'll have some groups, but in some cases it'll be one-to-one delivery.
Yeah, the resources Pilar mentioned before, I think you saw them all over the table. They work amazing. And after I did the training, I printed them all out and laminated them, and they are an absolute gold mine of information. And the 2 youth homeless support workers I work with have then taken those resources, that's my time, taken those resources into classrooms, and it's amazing the results they're getting from young people who just didn't understand, they just don't know about housing options. So yeah, big fan. Okay, thank you everybody, and I'll hand back to Peter.
I think it's back to Victoria.
Hi, thanks for that, Faye. That was brilliant. I think it's, you know, considering that you know, nearly 40% of the attendees are thinking about tenancy training, I think that gives a good sort of, you know, picture of why, you know, it can make a difference, and especially with you know, young people. Thank you everyone for giving your thoughts and feedback in our breakout room. So we were just hoping to be able to just let the facilitators share a quick 2-minute summary of some of the main points that were shared in their rooms. So I could kick off actually. Where it's fresh in my mind. So, I mean, we didn't get hugely far through all my questions, I must admit, but we were just trying to get an idea of who delivers training and why. And we heard from Altaf Khan in Communities, and basically they've had a tenancy training scheme in place for a number of years, since 2008, which they launched themselves. But it has been accredited externally. Altaf, who was it who you said LSE?
Yeah, so the accreditation was in 2008. It wasn't accreditation, actually, it was validation by the LSE.
Yeah.
Professor Ann Power back in 2008.
Yeah.
And then that allowed us some scope to move forward and expand the cohort of customers.
Mm. And really, I think you were saying that it's vulnerable people, giving vulnerable people access to social housing. So people like care leavers, people with learning disabilities, people that have been victims of domestic abuse, people with complex needs, rough sleepers. So that's an in-house delivery. And I think, it was a result, as Altaf said, of being a bit disillusioned with the repeat cycle of homelessness, cyclical homelessness that you were seeing. The same tenants presenting over and over again, and a vicious circle of homelessness. And it sounds like you've had sort of partnership working or conversations with mental health, to actually get that off the ground. And it's paid massive dividends, so that's really great to hear. And then we also heard from Nicola Marlowe, who's at Riverside, and they have don't have a specific tenancy training program. It's something that's a bit more delivered on an ad hoc basis across the different parts of the organisation. So looking at maybe getting a bit more consistency with what they offer. Because it's all sort of done locally, and I know Riverside's a big organisation and spread out. And then we heard from Bournemouth Council, Layla, who was talking about their pathway and how they've been dealing with a different sort of cohort of clients from everyone in and the next steps accommodation. They help them to their Layla is a resettlement navigator. So really they don't have a specific scheme in place. They've just had to react because it's all been very quick. And really the information they gave out is very intuitive. They've got a lot of rough sleepers caseloads. So they're sort of, it's evolved really with that cohort coming through. And then we spoke to Jennifer from Estuary Housing, and she was saying basically that the nominations they get come through so quickly that they don't really have time to put in place tenancy training, because it's a question of, here's your property, do you want it, do you not? But they do see the value in having tenancy training for people like care leavers and vulnerable people that Altaf was mentioning, that they get thrown in at the deep end and it's almost setting them up to fail. So definitely tenancy training is something that they are thinking could be really beneficial. And then we also heard from it was Jennifer from BCP as well. Basically, when they were talking about the fact that they've delivered their tenancy training, really it's all come about quite quickly, but one of the key things is to make it a bit less official sounding. So rather than making it too corporate, to say to the people, come and join us for a bacon butty, we're going to talk about this. Otherwise it's very difficult to engage with some of the cohort that we're talking about. So that's really all we covered in the 15 minutes which is quite a lot, but hopefully it gives us a bit more of a picture of the whys and wherefores. Peter, I'll move on to you because you're next on my list.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Victoria. Firstly, it's always really kind of reassuring for me to hear positive things about renting ready from people who've actually experienced. So yeah, thanks for that. I think the main thing I took out of the session was that the guys in the room were working with a whole range of kind of different cohorts of people, and I'd like to think that one of the beauties of kind of renting ready, or the way that you can make tenancy training more modular, is that you can develop content that is suitable for a broad range of people in different groups. So we talked about rough sleepers, people who have moved out of prison into approved premises, and how the course can really be tailored to meet their needs. And yeah, and just to finish off, I was pleased to have Susanna from the NHF in the room, keen to work with the NHF around kind of, yeah, how we could work together around the tenancy training, and how it might support the work of housing associations in terms of preparing new tenants for a tenancy, helping any tenants who might be struggling with certain aspects of the tenancy as well. So yeah, I shall certainly be following that one up. Now, Vicky, I don't have a list in front of me. Do you want to choose the next person, or do you want me to? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I go next, you like.
Famous, you're on, yeah, famous 3 words. Dora, what was your group talking about?
So we had the sort of like purpose questions. So yeah, big thank you to everyone in my group. We managed to crack the Jamboard, which is an achievement in itself. So in the room we had Havebury Housing, who already deliver like some sort of tenancy training course. They have a tenancy sustainment service for their existing tenants. And we talked about sort of like one of the benefits of that is being linked into like good support, and as a result you can avoid sort of like legal routes, which is a benefit for the organisation and the tenant and the landlords. Or yeah, the organisation and the tenants. And then we also had in the room Aspire and Creative Support, who don't currently deliver it, but would be interested in delivering tenancy training, and that includes for housing first tenants. So kind of another group to consider, Peter, like based on your conversation. Sort of in terms of like sharing with the rest of the room, one of the like good ideas that we had at the end, I think that's like good to share, is that we talked about the benefit of making the course voluntary, and like considering that you would get better engagement from people if it wasn't a like mandatory course, and making sure within that you're like listening to the needs and the ideas that people have. I'll just read it out. It's sort of like that people have like the best ideas to maintain their own tenancies, and we thought that that tied in quite nicely with making it voluntary as well. We got a few more bits down on the Jamboard, but I think that's enough for this.
I think what we'll try and do after is try and consolidate all the thoughts and share them with the group attendees after, which hopefully will be useful. Thanks, Dora. We'll move on to James.
Vicky, can I make a slight amendment to that? I've got a message from Sarah saying I know she needs to leave at 12:30. So
okay. Sorry, Sarah.
45 seconds.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, sorry to jump in, James. I've got a whiz off. Our group were great. We had lots of discussions. The Jamboard is populated nicely. I suppose a couple of headlines from us that really stuck out for me. One was around the importance of early engagement and people's experience that once people were in a tenancy, to try and then encourage them to come on a long course over days and days with hours of training wasn't always as successful as sort of dangling it as a little bit of a carrot before people moved into their tenancies. And the other one was the strong element around relationship building and how important that was, and where the teams were integrated within tenancy sustainment and perhaps your housing officers as well, and you work together as a team, and the individual issues could be dealt with a lot earlier. Relationships could be built up, particularly with tenants who were perhaps more vulnerable. And also something which Dora touched on, just the involvement of people in determining what they wanted to concentrate on within their own training. So maybe certain elements of the training that they particularly wanted to concentrate on, and involving them much more within the creation of the tenancy training programme rather than delivering a programme that wasn't bespoke at all, and that came over very strongly as well. But thanks to all my group, everyone was great. We had lots of conversations, not enough time, but lots of conversations.
Thanks, Sarah. That's great. Shall we move on to James then?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we managed to get through all the pages. We've got a few really good answers. One of the organisations doesn't do any delivery, but they're looking to consider doing this later on. We had a lot of answers around what's most important for clients, and there was a lot of things around there, around budgeting, antisocial behaviour, managing disputes with neighbours, tenant training on repairs. Yeah, quite a close group of answers there, very similar answers on that. We spoke about, again, it had been mentioned earlier, about working with people at an early stage, and particularly young people who have never managed a tenancy before, and there's a lot to learn. Yeah, I mean, a good chat around that, and how the content of the whole programme might not be relevant to everyone, so it's good to have a pick and mix, just picking out units that are that would benefit people more than just starting a course and working the whole way through it. Yeah, and yeah, there's a few good things that come up on advice on best practice. Again, best broken down into smaller modules, quick and timely, has to be done at the allocation stage before an offer is made. So there's a lot of pre-tenancy training going in there, to be tailored for each stages of the tenancy where needed. Mentoring was mentioned as well as being a good way, working with people and using case studies, use real examples. So yeah, a lot of good things in there. Yeah, 15 minutes doesn't really do it justice, but there we go.
On mute again. Sorry, yes, it is quite difficult to get through everything, isn't it? I appreciate that. We'll just quickly whiz through Janet, Pilly and Susan. So Janet and Kevin, hopefully we can try and wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so the consensus of the group was that tenancy training was a good thing. And obviously it was the financial aspects of a tenancy, the affordability side, the budgeting side and things around evictions seemed to be the consensus of the group. Priska came up with a really good practice. It's not only about dovetailing the practical support at the end of tenancy training when somebody's going into a tenancy, but obviously people that they work with, because they support homeless support workers. What they find is it's quite overwhelming emotionally as well when they move into registered social landlords, social housing, etc., new tenancies, and good practice would be to provide that emotional support as well as the practical support. So I'll just leave it there. It was, something that I don't think anybody's mentioned today, and certainly not something that I've had practical experience of either. So
okay,
suggestion.
Thanks, Janet. And Kevin?
We looked at the clients that we were aiming the course at, and it was mentioned that people in supported housing had a need for some tenancy training, particularly young people and people in move-on accommodation, but there were difficulties of engagement with them, particularly people who are 6 months into a 2-year stay. It's hard to show them that they need to do this course at this moment. One thing that was highlighted as a way of better engaging people is to build a good relationship with them, with your residents, before you start asking them to do the course. So I think that was a good point. Just start meeting with them, get some quick wins, and then start expecting them to do a course. Also bribery. Bribery always works. Pizza.
I think that echoes what was said in my my group, that, you know, have a bit more of a sort of informal approach, really, you know, not make it quite so sort of corporate. Thank you, Kevin. Pili?
Yeah, hi. So I was talking to people from Key and Hartlepool Borough Council, Community Gateway Association, and a few more. Sorry, I didn't get all the names of the organizations. And some people were delivering some kind of tenancy sustainment training or pre-tenancy training. Some were not, but were planning to. And I think one of the highlights was that a few people were talking about life skills for young people, well, also for homeless people who are have been sleeping rough for many years, and they might not have life skills such as basic cooking skills like boiling an egg, managing the money, how many people just get their benefits and they spend them all in one go during the first day and don't think about anything else. So I think that was quite important that the life skills came in. Also, people were talking about complex needs. So obviously it's different to deliver to people who have drug issues or mental health issues. Also people who might get a tenancy but might lose it because of their friends coming over, and that might lead to antisocial behavior and to them losing their tenancy. Also, someone mentioned something that I thought was quite interesting, that talk about life skills and cooking, that they are planning to have in their new building a built-in kitchen for people to be learning those life skills of cooking. Also, lack of ID was an interesting one. So I was mentioning that you can build all those things that are important to your clients into the tenancy skills course, be it renting ready or your own tenancy skills course.
Could I just add in, Pila? Sorry, 1 second. Just with regards to the food and the cooking and young people, what we did was we created 5 pop-up self-sustainable gardens, and we got young people to grow their own fruit and veg, and then go on to cook and eat the fruit and veg that they grew. So it all fits in. Pilar's modules are so flexible that it all fits in, and then they go on to think about how much money they're spending on Domino's, things like that. So that's one way of introducing that module into, well, to young people, something fun.
Thank you. So yeah, and then another thing was how to change perceptions and behaviors, which obviously it's quite a difficult one, but in terms of money spending and all that. Is there anything anybody who was in my group who would like to add? Anyone in the group 6? Okay, so then we can just go ahead.
Okay, and Susan, just to wrap up, was there anything?
So we looked at the providing tenancy training, and most people weren't, but was interested in doing it. And when we looked at why, what people get out of it, it was common themes of preventing eviction, improving tenancy system, and empowering clients, and just preventing further issues. And they kind of came through in 3 different kinds of questions about the organisation, the client, and why you provide tenancy training. So it was nice that they all married together.
Thanks very much. Okay, well, I'm conscious that time's marched on, as always, quite fast. So thank you to everyone who has come along, shared your thoughts, your ideas, and hopefully, you know, you've learnt something today. If you aren't already running tenancy training, or if you're thinking about it, you know, it's given you some food for thought, and if you're already running it, it might have given you, you know, some other ideas from other organisations. So what I'm going to do is to attempt to try and consolidate some of the feedback that we got today and send that out in a document. But we've also recorded the session, and we'll also have Crisis's presentation that we'll share with everyone. So yeah, thank you. Hopefully you found it useful, and do look out for future Homes for Cathy workshops. We've got one in September on migrant homelessness on September the 15th. The details are just being tied up, but that is definitely going ahead. So we look forward to seeing you at that one. Peter, I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, other than, yeah, delighted that so many of you were interested. If we can help at Crisis, please let us know. I'd hate to think that people are going to reinvent the wheel when there's so much resource out there already. So I'll put mine and Pilly's emails into the chat there. If you need any help, any support, then yeah, please get in touch. Well, good luck.
Okay, bye for now. Thank you.
Yeah.